Hi dear friends, hope you all are having a productive quarantine period. Welcome to another segment of It's a Learning Curve. In the last segment, we saw the importance of scientific publishing. However, we still sometimes face the challenge of mastering the art of scientific publication in order to present our results and to draw attention for whatever findings and data we have produced. Whether or not to say or describe science in such terms, scientific publishing is competitive in nature, and we scientists must vie with more experienced peers for recognition. In this regard, today I'm going to have a short presentation with 20 pointers which is going to make it easier for you to have and know a process of scientific writing. So here I'm going to share my screen with you so that you guys can have a look at what I'm talking about. So yes, with these 20 pointers, believe me friends, you will definitely nail the art of scientific writing. So how to start in the first? You have a piece of data, go ahead and compile that data and design an outline of that data. I usually use PowerPoint presentations for compiling all the data stepwise. The next step would be identifying significant findings from the data you have compiled. You will have different observations from entire data, but make sure to just point out a few significant findings of the entire data, because remember, although you produce tons of data, not all data can be included in your scientific publications. So try to find out your significant findings from the data you have compiled. Then choose that data or the figures, schemes, tables, or anything that can support your scientific claims or scientific story. So definitely choose your data so that it can fit well into your scientific narration. When you have all that in place, it will be easier for you to identify appropriate journal based on the scope of work. So at this point, you will know what work can be published in what kind of journal. So do not look at the impact factor of the journal, but just try to choose and identify the journal you would like to publish, and more so, you would know that this story will fit well in the specific type of journal. Once you have identified the appropriate journal, start writing the manuscript. Your manuscript should start with a running, creative, and a catchy title representing the scientific content of your manuscript. Then comes the abstract. In abstract, you should clearly identify the key findings and should be available for broad readership. So your abstract should pinpoint only the key findings of the entire manuscript, and also it should include optimum amount of experimental details. So you can pinpoint one or two very significant and incredible results that have occurred from your data. In the introduction, which is the first part of the skeleton in your manuscript, you should describe a strong background or the motivation that resulted in the research activity which you are presenting in the manuscript. So when you are at the end of the introduction, have a short two-liner paragraph which will create some degree of curiosity within the scientific audience, and that will make them keen to read your results. And then comes the sequential discussion of results, which should make a nice story. Your results or discussions should support the observations, the qualitative analysis, or any mechanistic schemes that you are using for making the story stronger. Draw the figures with consistent and readable font. Make sure to check the correctness of the units and captions. People use a lot of different software for making graphs and uh, images and schemes like Illustrator, like Origin, like TIFF, and so many other softwares are available uh, for making your figures more attractive. Making use of these figures is really important. When you are done with the figures, you always have to provide experimental conditions or any computational parameters in your figure captions. So if a reader is looking at your figure, he should get an entire abstract of what is being explained or described in the figure because of the caption you have presented. Again, check the correctness of figure numbers and citations in the text or for correct referencing. Otherwise, it is always a hustle and you might number it wrongly, and this might create confusion in the readers. So it is very important to keep checking the correctness of figure numbers and the citations in the text. After your results and discussions, when you are describing the experimental details, it is very important to be accurate in presenting your experimental details, because your experimental data should be reproducible in anywhere in the world. And that's why accuracy in experimental details is of much more significance. At the end, when you're trying to conclude your entire manuscript, your conclusion section should be a description of what you learned. Do not present any results and conclusion, but present what you have learned and how you are going to pursue this research further. You also can conclude saying how it has been helpful for so and so specific field or so and so specific area of research. Many a time students confuse between abstract and conclusion. So here is the difference. Abstract should pinpoint your key findings, and conclusion should convey what is the learning you have done from your scientific results, from your scientific experiments. Don't ever forget to acknowledge the funding agencies or any other assistance or services that you have availed to during your scientific uh, research or during the piece of work that you are presenting in the manuscript. Also, there are sometimes you have a lot of data which you think will be uh, helpful for strengthening your claims, and therefore that can be used as supporting information. So include any additional details wherever necessary. Always remember, every journal has its own format of referencing. So you should make sure that you are styling your references as per the journal requirements. And for that matter, you can use softwares like EndNote. It makes easier for using one specific style, and you are not very much prone to make mistakes when you are using such kind of softwares. When you are doing any submission, your submission cannot go without a cover letter. So a cover letter forms an important uh, foundation stone as to how your manuscript is going to look like to the reviewers or to the editor. So address your cover letter to the editor in chief or the editor and briefly explain the significance and the scope of work in it. And this is your entire preparation of your manuscript. So once you have all these things in place, you submit the manuscript, provide all the requested information during the submission process, and follow through the process. So a few things which I would want to add on to these is every journal has its own template and format which you have to follow when you're preparing for the manuscript. But your content is not going to change. Your content is going to revolve around these 20 pointers which I just presented. There are times when you also have to present a different PDF of figures, a different PDF of tables. It depends on how their software is built for the submission process. But it doesn't take much time and it does not change the skeleton of your manuscript. At the same time, there are also journals which want you to sign some letters for declaring any conflict of interest or your contribution as an author. These are some additional documents some journals would ask you to, but make sure all these are done during the submission process, otherwise your submission is going to be incomplete. I hope these 20 pointers for a manuscript preparation are helpful to you all, and you're going to follow these while you're making the manuscript. With this, I would like to thank you all for been watching my videos for the first, second, and this episode. And I would like you to keep supporting me like this and keep liking, watching, sharing, and subscribing my channel. Please stay tuned for more such educative and informative episodes in coming times. Till then, be productive and stay safe. Thank you very, very much. Always remember, it's a learning curve. Thank you.